lot of wisdom.
Dead Elephants podcast. I had such a great time promoting the sex episodes. I don't know if you've seen some of the stuff or some of. Did you read any of those?
No.
Oh,
Tell
okay.
me.
It's just so rare that you get an opportunity to really go to town with buzzwords.
Sure.
But I feel like for the next 3 episodes, I've got another opportunity to go to town with buzzwords.
I feel like this whole season is testing your maturity levels.
Oh, and I'm a complete failure.
Look, I've known you for 20 years.
Yeah.
You've pleasantly surprised me.
Oh, really?
You haven't managed to vicariously cancel me, and I appreciate that very much.
All right. Well, welcome to the dating episodes.
Wow.
It was brought to our attention, Chris.
Yes.
That-
By one of our guests, in fact, predominantly.
That's right. That we are not particularly skilled in the realm of modern dating.
Keyword modern.
Modern.
We were good in our day.
Mate, so good in our day.
I mean, yesterday's hero.
If there was a podcast on historic dating,
The modern history of Christian dating. We wrote the PhD.
That's right. So we're joined today by 2 hip young cats, Ben and Laura.
Yes.
So good to have you on the podcast.
Welcome.
guys.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Did you want to get anything out off your chest about how out of touch about dating that we are?
And I'll let Ben off the hook here. It was Laura who got in touch with me.
Great.
Now, she was lovely about it.
Okay.
But she did offer to perhaps share some updated thoughts on stuff that we might have just...
Just to bring everyone else who's listening up to speed, just in case they missed the episode where we just sounded completely out of touch. What were the things that you were like, mate, these guys are idiots. I need to get on here and talk to you.
Well, it wasn't more that I was trying to call you guys out that you weren't really up to date. I actually, I told Chris, it was very refreshing to hear you kind of simplifying this thing. Last year, I was in the midst of online dating, and before the year prior to that, I was listening to so much podcast dating about Christian dating and then just secular dating as well. A lot of psychologists and all about how our brain works, how our emotions work, how to put yourself out there, boundary settings, everything about it. And I was just telling Chris, actually, it's so nice to see kind of a Christian perspective, just simplifying it, not making it a big deal. And I kind of just praise that. That was great. And just tell them I've listened to all this, just mention it. There's so much more material out there. Never suggesting I'm the expert, come and talk to me. It's not the case. But just kind of a little...
Okay.
She's going to help us
information there.
elaborate. So maybe it wasn't that we said anything... Thank you for that very diplomatic assessment. So it's not necessarily we said anything wrong, but that there might be some more light to shine for some old farts like ourselves who...
In fairness, I met my wife at Big Day Out in 2000.
You might need to explain what Big Day Out is for anyone under the age of 30.
Yeah, that's fair. So back in the day,
hang on. Do you guys know what Big Day Out is?
I'm familiar.
I only know about it because I heard you talking about it on the podcast.
Oh, okay.
There you go.
So really quick recap of that story is that I met Carly after a mosh pit at Big Day Out. She came out obviously wearing 1,000 other people's sweat, and I said to myself, what an attractive woman. And she was with
What if you got attracted to the wrong pheromones? Have you ever considered that?
Maybe.
Wow.
I didn't now, but now I do.
Sorry, Carly. He loves you very much.
Coming up on 20 years next year, but now
Of other people's pheromones.
Yeah, marriage crisis.
Yeah.
And so I've got literally no modern experience.
Yeah, and look, for me, I shared this in the other dating episode we did. A lot has changed about the world as far as I can see. Online dating is probably the biggest one that comes to mind since I was on the market.
Yeah.
Because I was pretty eligible. I was,
Hot property.
oh yeah.
Still are, Chris.
Thank you. Thank you, Ben. It's what my mum says. So online dating is one, but also socially, I want to ask you guys a little bit as we go on about broader social trends. I feel like wokeism is a big thing that's happened in the last 20 years since I dated, the Me Too movement, obviously the relationships amongst the genders. And I wouldn't say that we were cavemen, certainly not, but the world has changed quite a lot in terms of gender roles, gender norms, and how we relate to one another. So these are all things that I'm aware of, but perhaps we'll find not a lot has changed. So
where do we start, Chris?
yeah, look, how about we start with these two guys' personal stories? relationship statuses. What's the plural of status? Statuses?
State I.
State I. Relationship state I. Presently, they're not dating one another. So that's probably just something
We should get that out in the open right now. Okay.
Yes. So Ben and Laura are not together. They are friends, but they both have stuff to say about dating. So Ben, let's start with you. Current relationship status, and as much as you want to share, broad relationship history.
Sure. I'm a single Pringle who is currently mingling, and
I like it.
I've been in a few relationships. I was in a couple of short relationships in my early 20s.
How old are you now?
I'm 27 right now.
Thank you.
And then I tried online dating for the first time about 2.5 years ago, and I've had 2 longer relationships since then, which were both incredibly positive, great relationships, quite formative and very positive. But yeah, I'm back to single and currently using dating apps to meet people.
Okay.
Thank you.
Dating app, just one.
Okay.
All right. We'll talk about Tinder in a little bit. It's not Tinder.
How do you know?
I don't know. I'm pretty sure
Making
it's
an
not.
assumption.
Yeah.
Laura, how about you?
I'm 25 and currently dating. I've been with my boyfriend Tom for almost 11 months now, and I met him on Hinge, one of the dating apps. Actually, Ben here, I sent him my profile being like, what do you think? Any comments? So in a way, owe him a little bit to that.
Okay.
Matchmaking.
I think you did the same for me, right?
Yeah, I came across you and was like, oh mate, good profile. Came across it.
Thanks a lot.
Don't take the swipe left like.
I was going to say, how do you
Personally.
endorse the profile without saying,
You send a screenshot to your friend on another channel.
oh,
Oh,
see,
actually-
these things,
If you
these are the
engage
things
with
I
them-
wanted.
If you
This is
engage with
good.
them on the dating app, it might be a bit misleading.
Okay.
Unless you're clear that you're doing it.
Okay.
If I would have replied to you like nice profile mate or something would have been probably less awkward. I don't know. Let's stick to the
So
screenshot and
much,
another meeting.
So much that I don't know. This is
Yeah,
good.
we-
So 11 months, met
11.
Tom online.
Online, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Um,
And first question as an outsider, is Hinge the one you're on?
Yes, it is.
And Hinge, from my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, it's not exclusively a Christian dating app, but there's a field that you can select to say I'm a Christian, and that filters people who've already selected that box. Is that correct?
That's correct. Hinge seems to have most dating a market share in Australia, and you can filter by all sorts of different attributes like height, ethnicity, faith, etc. And so there tend to be a lot of Christians that use Hinge because it's focused on relationships
Yep.
as opposed to hookups,
Yep.
and you can filter by faith.
Can you filter more than, like, can you say what denomination you're in? Like, how much can you drill down into your Christian identity?
I feel like the Christian dating pool's already small enough.
Yeah. Just Team Jesus is all you need.
Exactly.
Okay, good.
However, I do want to point out something. Even if you filter it, I think you can still get some other denominations of stuff, just because I found that a bit weird, because when I was swiping, I was like, why am I getting like so many people that have agnostic or, you know, any other religion? So I feel like that's the main thing, but it doesn't work fully as you want.
So
it
you
to.
find yourself getting Jesus Light, and Jesus 1%.
Yeah,
Yeah,
something
okay.
like
All
that.
right, okay.
And
Or-
is that like you just dig through the non-verbals to like, are you looking at, like, how do you go, all right, they're like really on about Jesus or they're not? Like, what are you looking at that initial stage? Is there photos? Is you just got to have a date to find that out?
I think there are a few things. So you can make Christian visible or not visible on your profile. If someone's visibly proud of their faith, then you can see that it's important to them.
Laura just
whereas-
ticked that.
Oh,
Yep.
nice.
Yeah, okay.
So the +1. But then I think you just really need to tease it out via chat or a phone call or a date to understand where they're at, because there's so much nuance.
Do you find yourself like overwhelmed by, because I feel like you fill out a profile of all the different likes and dislikes. Like I didn't have this experience. Like all that came out on the first few dates. What are you into? What do you want to do? You want to come and see this band? We're going to go out and do this, right? And that kind of shapes the early dating experience from back in the day. But what you have is this kind of itinerized explanation of who this human is. Do you feel like that just kind of paralyzes choice? Like, do you just start being very picky? I don't know. I don't know. I've
No,
never had this kind of
I've
choice.
heard. So I've said to, I don't want these guys to speak mostly. I've asked this question to people going, man, I so wish online dating was there because it would have removed any ambiguity. It's just like clear what we're all doing. It's good. But they've said exactly what you've just said. It's not the silver bullet because it's driven consumeristic mentality
Is that
towards
true?
dating. Is that true?
Yes. So a couple of things there. The more choice that you have, I think the more indecisive we can be because, you know, the grass is always greener. Or then, okay, this guy likes this that I always thought like people that like they're a bit weird or just doesn't go with my vibe. So it can generate that kind of, you know, I don't know what to choose when there's so many options out there. But in a way, it does help you filter out a lot of things. For example, if I see a guy that I'm attracted to ordering a coffee, if I'm bored enough and go and talk to them, ask for their number, and go and have a date with them and sit down the first 5 minutes, I realize we're wasting each other's time because there's nothing in common besides maybe I think that you're an attractive man. Then
She
it
looked at
can-
me when she said attractive man, by the
I
way.
saw it. Yeah, no, I saw it.
just for those playing at home.
Spot on, Laura.
Yeah. So yeah, that can add to maybe like cutting, you know, minimizing the disappointment that you can get, but you're still going to be disappointed, and not meaning that you're going to be let down by another person, but just general like dating is not like a cliff. It's always just like a roller coaster, ups and downs, and how each date that you come to, it's going to maybe live up to the expectations you had from the profile, even if you over like made it very like, you know, you kind of hyped a lot it yourself, or it was like overhyped on the profile, which, you know, it's hard to judge because you don't want to put like, you know, the least favorite things about yourself on the profile. You're there to like hype yourself up and stuff. So you always have to give a bit of grace of like
Like the
actually-
property listing of yourself.
Yeah, pretty much.
I think there's the idea of dating apps makes a lot of sense in that you can more easily find people that you're looking for. For us, it's fellow Christians and any other attributes that we're looking for. So I think in theory they make a lot of sense. However, I do think it drives a massive the choice that you have drives quite a consumeristic culture around it. I think it's definitely the norm in secular dating, and then the Christian subculture of dating, I think, buys into that by osmosis a little bit. It's hard to not buy into that consumeristic perspective on dating apps because there are so many wonderful people, wonderful Christians that are using dating apps, and it's a privilege to meet those people. But then you've always got this subconscious thought at the back of your mind that there could be someone out there who's better suited to me, that has attributes that I am looking for in a parent, in a wife, etc. And I think that niggling thought at the back of your mind is not a helpful one. I think it drives to, it means that people are less willing to commit and more picky. And yeah, there can be that consumeristic side. So,
And how do you switch? Like, Laura, you've been dating Tom for 11 months. Like, and I've never met Tom. This is not a comment about Tom. I'm just putting myself in your shoes going, when you're used to doing what you guys have just said, switching that off all of a sudden and going, no, Tom's my guy for this season of my life and hopefully more. That's easier said than done psychologically.
Yeah, at least for me, I think I was in a very good position in terms that I haven't been on the apps for long. I matched with Tom maybe just over a month of being on the app. However, how it works, you cannot, like if he messaged me, you get a pool. And then unless you pay for premium, you can see everyone that has messaged or interacted with you. And until you go through the first couple, either accept the message or respond or not, you can get to him. So he was waiting for like 2 weeks until I got to him. And
Good play. Well done.
Okay.
wasn't
Savvy.
intentional.
he's a patient man.
So then, and by the time I was seeing other people, and we should touch on Christians dating multiple people.
Oh, yes, please.
And I think just what happened with him on the first date, it wasn't like love at first sight. But I also am very conscious that I just got back from a 2-week trip when I wasn't dating. I didn't have that dating fatigue of, you know, every weekend I'm seeing a couple guys. I was kind of fresh, refreshed. I was just energized. I was in a very good headspace. And when I saw this man, he was just like lovely. We've been chatting for the longest. We didn't see each other. I don't like the idea of like pen paling. I like, okay, we have a vibe. Let's just go and meet out. I met her in person rather than the texting. I'd rather see them in person. So the fact that I did kind of message him for a bit before I got to kind of communicate, like, yeah, I just got to know him a little bit better. So when we went to the first date, I just felt like, oh, this guy is quite special. And then, you know, within that week, a couple of days later, I just very promptly asked him, do you want to do a Macca's run? And then he asked me out for like a movie and dinner and a movie. And it just kind of, it was very clear for me that I'm ready to uninstall this app and see what happens with him. And then, you know, I didn't know it back then.
Okay, so uninstalling the app is like, that's
serious.
That's
when
when I had the chat. I was being like, well, are you seeing other people? At the time, he wasn't like messaging anyone else on the app, or like not really seeing anyone else. And I was seeing, actually, before that date, I had a morning date coffee with a guy, and I was still a bit unsure. Like, I think I like this guy, but I haven't stopped thinking about Tom, but I already arranged this date with this guy.
Wow.
And I saw him, but then after that date, I messaged, thank you so much. It's been lovely to meet you, but I'm deciding to pursue a relationship with another guy more intentionally.
Duncan, do you know what I love about that story?
What's that?
That you can cement a relationship with a Macca's run. That's
Yeah,
that gives me hope for humanity.
it does. It does.
And it makes me think I could have been relevant even now. If that's the bar, a Macca's run, I could have done that.
Can I? Because I feel like I'm so out of my depth here. But can I ask some questions?
Of course, go for it.
So you talk about this notion that you like, there's like going out with someone and dating someone, right? So the notion is that in that early stage, you might be going on dates with a bunch of different guys who you're just trying to sound out, right?
Yeah.
Is that kind of what you're talking about? And then when you're going out with someone, that's an exclusivity thing now, is that? Is that? Can you kind of, just because so single for so long, the notion
With
of
good reason.
having dates with multiple women is just so foreign to me. I'm just cannonball in one pool. Like, if I'm not welcome there, then I jump out and go and swim somewhere else. So can you unpack that, please?
Okay. I guess everyone has their own like rules set differently. How I did it is there is like amount of chats that you want to be having at the same time. So it will be exhausting if you're having intentional conversations with 20 people at the same time. I try to limit that to maybe like 3 to 5 people that I'm constantly checking, hey, how was your day? Oh, that's good. We're maybe thinking to plan a date. And then the date is more figuring out if I want a second date. And what does that date look like? It's, you know, nothing extremely super romantic. I always kept it very casual, like let's go indoor climbing, maybe we can go for a walk, let's grab a coffee, light lunch, something very casual.
Just lowbrow.
Exactly.
Okay.
No lit candles, no romantic music, just very chill.
Nothing shirt off at the beach.
No.
Shirts definitely staying on.
Shirts were staying
okay.
on.
No, I'm just trying to get a framework for this.
And also on top of that is that I set myself this kind of rule, and I asked some of my friends to keep me accountable. I'm not kissing multiple guys and not wanting to like frown on anyone that thinks that's okay. It's just I know I connect very much. Like, I'm a very physical touch person. If I kiss a guy, I'm going to be obsessed with you and I'm going to be like really, really like crushing hard on you. And it's like, if I've crossed that boundary, I don't want to like cross it with multiple people at the same time because I'm
So
just
we're
going to be a
talking
mess.
Anglican side hugs or we're talking about a Pentecostal front to front hug?
I don't
But
I don't
no
know.
kisses.
I
I'm
feel-
just trying to get my head around it.
Your ability to pit Anglicanism against Pentecostalism
What are you
at any
doing?
opportunity is...
Well,
is-
you know what the thing is?
It's a proper hug I'm getting from a Pentecostal. Sorry.
Well, more than that is the Latina hug. I'm Latina. I am
okay.
like, and I've struggled with that. Like sometimes I'm like super friendly and whatever, and I feel like many guys are being like, oh my gosh, she's like flirting with me. It's like, no, like
No, I'm Colombian.
calm down from that
Ease-
cloud. I am
ease up.
Latina. I am like that, and that's it. So I don't really pay much. I just like, however, if they come in for a side hug, I'm not going to be like, that's awkward. If they come in for, I like a good hug. And
Listen,
Tom
white,
gave me a
listen,
very
white
good
boy.
hug.
No side hugs here.
Yeah, okay. All right.
Well, that's the thing. Tom actually gave me a very nice hug, and we were talking about it not that long ago. And he said, like, I really love that you kind of like went awkward. You just went in for the hug. Like, it just kind of like, oh, like, it's
Okay.
fine. I don't see anything as like, oh my gosh, this is getting awkward. So we're like hugging for like 10 minutes, very close together and awkwardly. Then maybe he'll be like, oh, okay, that was weird, but just a hello hug.
So Ben, are you doing this? Maybe I'm having a casual date with a couple of people, figuring it out. Is that how you roll as well?
Yeah, similar.
And by the way, this is not judgment. This is learning for me. okay?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Similar sentiment to Laura. There are always people that you'll start talking with and then it fizzles out for a particular
of
reason.
course.
There's a whole lot of ghosting that goes on in dating apps. And so if you engage with a few profiles and start getting to know a few people, that's quite normal. I definitely do that. And then taking it to a date and getting to know them in person, it's definitely exhausting to be getting to know multiple people in parallel. So mainly for my social battery, I don't tend to date multiple people. But if it just so happens that I'm going on a first date with 2 people on a weekend at different times,
Yeah.
then that is okay. I have done that in the past, but I tend not to do that just for my own
What a Saturday.
sanity.
I love it.
And I love that this, Ben, I know you and I know you're a man of very high conscience and careful thought. What I find interesting about that is that you're making that on a social battery decision, not a Christian ethical decision. I'm not saying that's wrong, but it's just interesting to hear your reason for that. Because in Duncan and my date, I'll tell you how I roll, that would be an absolute no-go. Like
right.
if you were found to be going on a first date with 2 girls on the same day, man, church would be talking.
Oh, about that.
Am I right?
That's what I'm saying is that
Yeah.
I'm like, when I was interested in Carly,
Yeah, man. Like,
and I think this is probably like, I'm going to get cancelled for this, but at my initial interactions with Carly, I got her phone number at church. I then went home and I called Carly and she said, listen, I was just being friendly because you were in front of other people. I didn't want to embarrass you. I don't want to go on a date with you.
wow.
And then for like 10 months, I would just show up at every social function together with her. And eventually after 10 months, she said yes to a date. But that's because I was like in on Carly.
And I want to...
And today people are going, that's icky and creepy and you shouldn't do that. But I was,
Stalker.
yeah, right, totally. Like I totally get that. I totally understand that. But I was like, no, I think she's the right one. And I'm not going to try and force it. Like I'm not showing up at her house, but at any
just a garden.
barbecue where there's like 20 people there, I'm probably in the room.
Okay, so this is what I've been thinking as you guys have been talking. When Duncan and I were dating, the thing we would often hear
Not together. We didn't date together.
what
Thanks for
about
clarifying that.
2003?
Stop it.
That was special. Sorry. Speaking of getting cancelled. So when Duncan and I were each dating respective people, you know what I mean. The thing I heard from older generations at that time were, hey, we used to just be able to go and dance with a girl and that would be okay. And it was only like, we used to like put a pin on them and that's when we were serious. And
Put a pin on them.
yeah, that's like, that was the generation above us. And then we seem to get like super hectic crazy from day one. First date, you have to know whether you're marriage material, all that kind of stuff. And it almost feels like it swung back and like in between these 2 generations was our generation that was way too intense, way too early. And actually, I think in a church context, it was really unhelpful. So when I first decided that I wanted to pursue Lara, tell me if this still happens in churches. Every time I would go and try to talk to her after church, my mates are in the background giving me the thumbs up. It was just like
So good. Such a good chat.
horrendous.
Yeah.
It was horrendous. And it just put this like level of intensity on day one, I think subsequently really unhelpfully. So I think within that is a question.
I hope so.
Are
It's
we-
a great story.
Thank
though.
you.
Yeah.
Are we as Christians, I think we had singleness and dating wrong in our generation.
Yeah, we had I Kissed Dating Goodbye, which is a
Right.
terrible book.
Yep. And I feel like we've gone back to a
Yeah.
more casual approach to dating, at least initially. So I guess my question is, are you guys grateful to be in the generation that you're in? What? What's wrong with that question? Ignore him. Are you guys grateful to be in the generation you're in? Or do you go, man, it would have been so much simpler before everything online? Are you thankful for online or do you wish it was back in the day?
Well, I think I'm biased because it worked out for me.
Yeah.
So yes, but I do know like it can be quite hectic. I once like at some stages, a couple of years before I even thought about online dating, I'd be like, oh, so much easier. Someone sets you up. Like just tell me how many cows you want my dad to give you and just take me a marriage. It'll make it so much easier. But then at the same time, like, that you just say that as a thing. I don't think I would have liked that. I guess it's very hard to tell. It's just the environment that we're growing in. It can be a bit hectic. It can be, Ben mentioned a bit of ghosting that goes on. You can get quite hurt.
Yep.
So I think it's hard, but at the same time, there are tools out there, but they're tools created because of the situation, like because of the problems that this time comes with.
So because it's kind of
ghosting, just hold on, just clarify for an idiot. Ghosting is when you're having a conversation with someone and then they just cease all communications and
Yeah.
there's no explanation.
Yep, pretty much.
In answer to your question, Chris, I would love to be in the generation 2 generations above and meet my spouse at a dance. That sounds so much fun. My grandparents did it that way. But I think we've come to somewhat of a good place in the Christian dating subculture where it's not the unhelpful intensity that you guys experienced, but it's still intentional enough.
Yep.
I think you can definitely go to an unhelpful extent on both ends of the spectrum. But yeah, it's interesting that you point out that the reason I don't really date multiple people is for the social battery, as opposed to the ethical side.
Yeah.
I think that there's definitely a point you've reached where it's unfair to be seeing multiple people, and
Does everybody understand what that point is?
I think people have different ideas. I'd say in the Christian subculture, it's probably sooner than outside of the church. What do you think, Laura?
Well, there's a lot of different things to it. I guess it goes, are you leading someone on? Am I having conversations with the 5 different people and seeing, oh my gosh, what are we going to call our kids? Where would you like to buy a house? Stuff like that. Then I'm leading them on, and it's not helpful. I think it's okay to go and date multiple people, just getting to know multiple people. I think I will reframe that if communication is clear. If they ask you, what are we? You're not going to lie about, I'm actually getting to know other people. Like, it's about being truthful and not being, not keeping them around just for your own ego or for your own entertainment. I think that's what you will expect. It's the rule amongst Christians. Like, we are called to love one another, and that's clear communication and, not leading on and being very transparent. I think that is the guideline for
That's
dating
very
multiple
helpful.
people.
Yeah.
For me, I wouldn't go past the like from the ethical side of things. I wouldn't go past like a third date.
Okay.
Getting to know multiple people. I don't know if you have a different number, Laura, and that's okay if you do.
No, I don't have a number. I think it really depends, because I wouldn't, like, if I have a 15-minute coffee with someone just because we worked like across the corner or something, and then I end up having like 5 of those and then one dinner, and then at that dinner I realize, actually, nah, I wouldn't say like, oh my gosh, I crossed the boundary, not to me. It's more like, what do each of those date entitle? And I get after 3 dates, if you are having, a 1 hour, I don't know if that's too long.
I say the number not as a hard and fast rule. I think then rules
But
are
as
largely unhelpful.
as a principle, multiple early dates is fair game,
Yeah.
even amongst Christians.
I feel like once you know that it's a no,
Yep.
don't keep leading them on.
Yeah,
Like,
okay.
and it's okay to still have questions, because I think I was kind of a bit hard on myself when I was still unsure. I was like feeling guilty. Well, I'm not sure. I've seen him 2 times. It's like, it's okay to still not be sure. Like, you're still getting to know them. Don't put that much pressure on yourself to know immediately, yes, I'm going to marry this man or this woman after the first date or second, third date. But it's, at what point do you want to be? I do want to only be seeing you and focusing my energy on you. Once you know that, or if once you know you don't want to do that, then be clear and cut it off in a gentle and kind of way.
But Ben, we're talking 2 morning dates, a kayak session. You're still unsure. Are you going back for an evening meal, or are you sticking around for a 3rd morning coffee? What are you doing? I'm just trying to get a framework here.
It doesn't really matter,
Okay,
Duncan.
all right. Okay.
But I love kayaking, so I'd take them on another kayak.
A second
trip.
kayak.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
2 coffees, 2 kayaks, then maybe you're out.
Lock that in.
Okay.
And I feel
okay.
like 2 single kayaks is less intense than sharing a double kayak. That feels like a deeper
Mate, it's
level.
double kayak or you're out, mate.
No, that's too full on.
Is it too full on?
Oh yeah,
Okay, all right,
there's
okay.
too much complementary stuff going on there. There's too much teamwork.
You've got to figure that out. That's the whole point of dating, is figure out if you can work as a team.
Good
So
thing.
I got one more question here. We've spoken a lot about online dating. Is this become the death of traditional dating in our churches? Like, what's the market share between old school dating relationships?
Let me introduce you to my friend.
Yep. Versus I met someone on the app. Where are we at as a market share here in Christianity?
It's not the death of traditional dating. Definitely not. People still meet at church and at parties and at uni ministry. Might be like 50-50 at my church. I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'd say we're probably not as skewed to online dating as the secular world
Okay.
just yet, but it's increasing.
Yeah, agreed. I think it does. There's still space for the one-on-one. Like, let's just introduce me to your friend. Like, I've done that. I've like saw friends like post something at birthday parties. Like, hey, just wondering, is that guy wearing like the green t-shirt single? Like, I used to do that, and they'd be
love
like,
that,
no,
Laura.
they're dating. Like, I'm okay. Like, if if I know someone, like if I think, oh, I have this great friend, I think they'll get along with Ben. I'll introduce them. Why not? Like, and of course, unless they ask me, please don't do that. I'm embarrassed. Like, it really depends about the person. Their personality, how out there they want to be. I think just the good thing about online dating is that you don't get the thumbs up from your friend because no one knows you in
Right.
the cafe you're
Yeah.
at. It does, if it goes wrong, no one knows. In a way you can, the shame of like they ghosted me or like, oh, they said they didn't like me back. Because there is like that. You can try to be the more secure person, but it hurts when you get like rejected. So it kind of creates that semi-safe space, like aside from your community, but then also is probably a call out is like, why are we not making our church community a safe place for that to happen? Like,
Yes.
should we normalize more? We saw them across at Brick Lane having a coffee. Ooh, let's make a big deal about
Do
it and
people
goose
do
about
that?
it.
If people saw that now, would people start talking?
I don't know.
I think it's less of a deal, much less than what you.
I'm glad to hear that.
articulate
Oh,
all the
mate,
time.
it went straight on MySpace.
I'll go in.
MySpace.
Yeah, or you would MSN Messenger.
Yeah, I was going to say I'm a little bit too young for MySpace.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, because I've also heard like there's a fear about dating someone in your own church as well, because if it doesn't go well, there's more to lose than if you got set up with someone from another church. Don't know if that's a
Do
thing.
you still play the one striking out?
To play the what?
What?
One striking out.
What does that mean?
That means you can only date one person from your youth group, and
Oh.
if it doesn't work, you're out. You're
I've never
done.
heard that one.
No idea.
Okay, all right.
You are so old.
Maybe I come from
MySpace,
an
one
Amish
striking
community.
out, man.
Well, no, the notion is that like you've got a group of friends,
Yeah.
and that group of friends gets along really well, and then you go, oh, maybe we can go out on a date. That then doesn't work, and that's actually then kind of affected the group of friends.
Yep.
So you can't keep on doing that because it just keeps on fracturing the friendships.
Which shows something else about that intensity again.
Well, and that's where I think I'm trying to get my head around it, is because like I even think that if you're dating someone off and out from a different social group, right? Like one of the advantages, I'm just saying it's an advantage that we had, was that we were all in one big social group together. So we knew all the friends and all the friends of the friends before we started the date. And so we're like, oh yeah, I like hanging out with all those people. But if you're
We inherited the friends as well as the partner.
but if you pull in a bolt from the blue, who's got a completely different social network to yours, then you also then have to make over time. Like I don't know if Tom's a bolt from the blue or here in your social group, is that you then have to kind of be friends with all of Tom's friends. Whereas my advantage was I knew all of them ahead of time.
Disadvantage if it doesn't go well, you lose all your friends.
That's why it's one striking out.
Yeah.
No, I don't think it's as intense as what you guys experienced. People can hang out, go on a low key coffee date, and
Sweet
be
mercy,
seen,
low key.
and that's okay.
Wow.
That's okay. I've done that. I've only been on a date with one person from my church. We were friends before the date and friends after. We're actually still really good friends. We play
Okay.
sport and we're in growth group together. But
I love that. I'm so happy to hear that.
Yeah.
That is way more healthy.
I agree.
Yeah.
I'm just this is why we should never have done a podcast on dating, because I'm so out of touch. Do we want to wrap it up there?
Yeah, so where we're going in the next 2 episodes, like this season we've been doing little docu-series or mini-series. We're going to get more of a guy's perspective next episode.
Okay.
And more of a girl's perspective in the final episode. So we're going to dig into Ben's story a little bit more. How does faith make a difference? Where's the health? Where's the unhealth? And all that kind of stuff. And then we're going to hear the same from Laura. Now they can speak in each other's episodes. That's certainly allowed.
Yeah,
But we
okay.
will have foci.
Beautiful. All right, listen, if you've got any comments about this too, jump on the Discord channel.
Or Hinge.
I'm not on here.
You won't find me.
Ben
I
is.
think I'd be-
Ben's the only one of it.
Yeah.
Ben's on Hinge.
Not sponsored.
Let us know your thoughts too on dating. Obviously, I'm just going to bow out of the conversation and learn for the next couple of episodes, but really thankful for having you guys here. And we look forward to next week's episode where we unpack this a little bit more.
Swipe left, please.
Right.
Isn't that Tinder?
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't want them. Maybe swipe left is what I'm going for.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Thank you, guys.
Well,
So as well as story,
That's
I
very
reckon
fun.
we let's dig into a little bit more theological frameworks for how you approach dating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect. Sounds good.
Groovy.
Or anything else that you want to.
Oh, actually, I don't know if we can do that in, but I'll let you guys know if you want to move the conversation towards that. Not that long ago, I found out that there is a lawsuit against the parent company of Hinge and Tinder, asking them they should put a notice because they created it to be addictive.
Oh,
Yeah, interesting.
So maybe the game aspect of the dating apps
Ah.
will be interesting to
The
touch off.
ethical. Wow.
Yeah, I think idolizing dating and dating apps.
Yeah. Yeah. So Hinge and Tinder are owned by the same company.
That's my understanding
Right.
from.
You're feeding the machine, Ben, unknowingly.
Yeah.
Aren't we all, though, really? I mean, how many supply chains are there really at the end of the day? Always comes back to the oligarchs.
Yeah, and that's, I think there was something that went on the article that they were talking about, and the thing when I heard it from is that what happens is that they make it so addictive, so they give you limited swipes, and then if you want to
Oh.
have more swipes that day, you need to pay.
Really?
Yeah, and then if you, like what I was mentioning, I didn't get to Tom's message after 2 weeks because I can only see like the top two guys, and it's very, like, as a church,
When you say the top two, what makes them the top two guys?
either if they pay, they can send me something that pop up. So if they pay, and like it just kind of gives you that advantage that you're just going to be at the front fourth of like any girl that you send her like a rose or a booster or whatever it's called. And another thing there is that that because you cannot see everyone, you kind of, you're inclined of being like, oh well, if there's one of the guys that messaged me popped up, and you kind of have this sense of urgency, like what if by the time I get to him he's met someone else? So it kind of, I see how
Oh
it
my
feeds into
gosh.
getting you to want to pay.
I feel like there's a
an extra
conversation here
subscription.
about sovereignty at some point. Like,
Missing out if
oh, I won't say it because I want to ask the good.
Okay.
Yeah.